Hi everyone. I would like to welcome all the participants on behalf of my company, Pronix INC. First of all, let me share my screen. So today, in this webinar, we cover the following topics, such as introduction to React.js, business perspective of using React.js, top companies using this library, and many more. Now, before starting this React.js, I would like to introduce my company. Pronix is the rapidly growing company which provides solutions for multiple problems in software industry. We provide services since 2010. We have 200 plus technical experts globally. We provide our services in multiple sectors such as cloud, SAP, ERP, CRM, applications, etc. I'm one of the leads in Pronix. My name is Ravi. I'm a full stack developer. I have worked with multiple JavaScript libraries and frameworks both in front end and back end in multiple projects. Today is the starting day of React.js webinar from Pronix Science. So we go through a little introduction of React.js and we'll create a sample application in this webinar. In this webinar, instead of going through a regular discussion of React.js, I would like to discuss today's webinar in business perspective. Why React.js is good for business, why many companies are preferring are going to this React.js, why multiple developers are learning React.js and few existing developers migrating to React. Many companies such as Dropbox, Instagram, Airbnb, Walmart, Skype, and many more others are using this React.js. Now, to continue this argument, I will discuss few business benefits of React.js, reasons of its popularity, why multiple companies and developers are using React.js in their projects. Now, one of the major reasons of its popularity is high performance. React.js uses virtual DOM by which developers can make prompt changes without affecting the other parts of the interface. It is an ideal or virtual representation of your UI scripting level and sync with real DOM. Now, when we discuss this virtual DOM, we can say it is good for developing, but how it works, how it is good for business. Let's say if an application is interacting with the end user very slowly, it will impact RVR rate. That is, visitors will not return to the application which is performing very slowly, which is not interacting with the end user quickly. That is why we need an application with high performance, which interact with the user quickly. That will impact our business. Code reusability. One of the major benefits of React.js is its ability to reuse the components. We can reuse the components at different levels at any point in time. Even the changes made in one part doesn't affect the other. Yes, it is good. It is good for creating applications with React.js, but how this particular scenario will benefit the business. Let's say if a library or framework allowing reusability, then developer doesn't have to write the code again for same or similar functionality, which enables the developers to build applications quickly, due to which a lot of time will be saved. As the time is reduced to build an application, it will reduce the overall cost. Strong community. Now, React.js is having a strong community. A major benefit of having strong community is that developers can find solutions to most of the problems quickly. I guess you understand how it benefits the business. Means if developers are able to solve the problems quickly, then The application will be developed much more faster, which will impact the cost. SEO friendly. Marketing experts, particularly digital marketing experts, knew that SEO friendly website have a low bounce rate, which will impact the business directly. Same way, there are few other major benefits of React.js, such as flexible and easy to maintain. React.js will provide the liberty to choose the tools, libraries, architecture to develop, so it can be scaled easily. It can help you to save time and money in longer, easier learning curve. It is much easy to learn when compared to other frameworks. It is one of the main reasons of its popularity. Why multiple developers are moving to React.js. Why new developers want to learn React.js. Builds rich user interfaces. Now, user interface plays a crucial role in today's web application. Poor user interfaces are having low success rate in current market. Using React.js supports user interfaces. We can create a rich user interfaces with the help of React.js. One-way data flow. React follows one-way data binding, which ensures that the changes made in child components do not affect their parent. It will make the application more stable when compared to other frameworks, which are having two-way binding. Now, based on these few benefits or many other benefits, multiple companies are using React.js in the front end for the new product. But it is just one side of the coin. Now, on the flip side, many companies are migrating their existing projects to React.js. It may be small scale or large scale applications. Now, based on this argument, now a question arises. For example, we are having an existing application. Why we need to migrate our existing running application to some other language? There may be multiple reasons for this. Maybe the existing application is costly to maintain. It may lack the performance in different ways. It may have the unstructured or difficult to maintain source code. Based on these few reasons or many other reasons, they want to migrate. We will discuss the steps to follow to migrate an existing applications in our upcoming webinars. But for now, I want to focus a simple introduction and a simple application using this React.js. Now, if you want to create application if you want to create a React.js application, there are multiple ways. We can create in multiple ways, such as adding React.js library using script tag. We can add React.js with script tag in our HTML page. It is the simplest way of using React.js, but it is not best practice to create real-time applications by using this process. We can create React.js with the help of commands such as npm create React app, npm init React app, and many more. I have displayed all those multiple commands here. By using these commands, one of the command we can create React app. We can also create a React app manually by installing required packages such as Webpack, Babel, React Script, React DOM. So all these packages we can install in a folder, and we can create our own React.js application from the scratch. Today, I'm using a simple approach to create a React app by using npx create React app. Now, if you think of what is the best approach to create React app, how Webpack or Babel works in the background, all these topics we will cover in our next webinars. So for now, let's create a simple application using npx create React app command. So let's start. So now I will create my application in this folder. We can use any terminal to execute the command. But to work with React.js, we need to have a node environment. So we can install node environment into a system. By using this node environment, we can execute our applications. So let me create a simple React application using create React. Now this command will create a folder with minimum files to run our application. It takes some time, but to save our time, I have already created an application with the same command, using the same command. So in the end, it will create a folder with multiple subfolders and files, and it will simply say move on to this folder. And if you want to run the application, you can use this npm start command. So let me open our application in VS Code. I'm using VS Code to work with my application. So now let's start our application with a simple command. npm start to start our application. Now this will start our application. In the meantime, let me discuss the existing folders and files located in this application. So first folder, that is node modules. It contains all the dependencies that are needed for an initial working React.js application. So all our dependencies, all the packages we install in the future, that will be stored in these node modules. Then coming to public folder, we are having multiple files here. First file is favicon.ico. Now this is our, initially this will be displayed as our favicon of our application unless you change it. Now next we are having an index.html file. Now React.js is a single page application. It will contain a single HTML file, but we can say, you can argue that we can have, can't we have multiple HTML files? Yes, we can have, but it is not the best practice to use multiple HTML files in this public folder. Instead of that, create a single HTML file, use a single element in which we wrap our entire components into that element. Now, in this case, we are having a div element. Our entire application will be rendered into this div element. So our entire application, whatever we create with the React.js components, those things will be the child of this div element. Then we are having a logo PNG and logo 512 PNG. So these are called in index.html. If you want, we can remove these images. What are the images we required, we can add. Then coming to manifest.json, it is used to define our app, mostly contains metadata. Now this file, it helps to create progressive web applications used by mobile phones to add web app to the home screen of a device. Those things can be done with the help of manifest.json. Then we are having robots.txt. It is a text file. Now, if you want to provide some rules to the search engine robots, such as spiders, crawlers, scrappers, If you want to provide some access and if you want to define some rules, we can define those things in this text file. Then coming to SRC folder, we are having a SRC folder and we are having multiple files in here. Now this is our starting point of our application, means all the codes mostly we write here. Now, if you want, we can delete entire files and we can write our own content. But before doing that, let me explain all the files here. So here we are having app.css, which is having multiple styles which are used in app.js component. Here we are importing here those CSS here. Then we are having app.test.js. It is a sample test file created by Create React App. If you want, we can remove this and we can create our own testing files. Now, whenever we run npm run test, the CLI environment will execute all the files which are having .test.js or .test.ts based on our environment. Will execute those files. Then coming to index.css, another style file which is interacting with index.js. Here we are importing this. And coming to index.js, which is a starting point of our application, which renders our components. Here it is rendering our app component into this root element, which is located in index.html. So here we are having a div element with the ID root. Now index.js is getting this root element, rendering our entire application into this root element. So now our entire application will be the child of this div element. Then we are having logo.svg. Initially, we are using this in this app.js. This initial file is holding this, is displaying this image. If you see the output here, this is the image. This displaying. Then we are having a report report web vitals.js. So this file, this includes a built-in tools to measure the real life performance of your application. So if you want to check the performance, this is the file which is measured and it is created with create React App. It doesn't comes with all other content. It will be created with the create React App. Then we are having a setup test.js file. As the name suggests, this file sets. It will run the test files. This file is directly invoked when we run test files from CLI. Then we are having git ignore. Now, if you want to ignore some folders or files pushing into a repository to stop them, to stop the files or folder, we can use this git ignore. Then we are having package.log.json, package-log.json. So it ensures that your package is consist across various machines by storing the versions of dependencies that are installed with the packages. Same way we are having package.json. This includes multiple metadata. It includes multiple dependencies and dependencies of your existing packages and your future packages, and along with those versions. And to set up the environment and to run the applications, all these things will be created here in this file. Then we are having readme.md. This file can be used to define usage, build instructions, summary of projects, etc. It uses Markdown markup language to create content. So these are the different files which were created with the help of Create React App. Now, instead of using the existing code, I want to create my own code. So let me remove this folder. Now we don't have index.js, which is not rendering content into index.html div element. So it is storing an error. Now let me create my own SRC folder, my own index.js file. Now inside this file, I want to render my entire application into this div element. We don't have to use the same div element. We can remove this ID. We can write our whatever the ID we want, but it doesn't change anything. It will just render our entire app into this div element. So now for that, I will import few things. I will import first of all React from React package. I will import React DOM to create a root element from React DOM client. Now I will create the root by using this React DOM create root method. Here, I want to first of all get the div element and provide the div element as the root element. For that, I'm accessing that root element with the help of simple JavaScript command. Now, this JavaScript code get the element by using the ID. Here we are having root ID in the index.html file. We are accessing that, and I want to render my entire application into this root element. So for that, I need to create an application. I need to create a component, the base component. So for that, let me create a component folder. Now, as you see, I'm creating a components folder. Now, is it mandatory to have a folder like this? We write some few questions like that. What is the folder structure for applications? Uh, what is the best approach to create these folder structures? These things. But it is not mandatory to have one type of folder structure for every application. Applications based on types of application we are creating, we need to choose the folder structure which will be useful for our application. So ReactJS is flexible enough to create our own folder structure. Now, for simplicity, in this webinar, for simplicity, I'm just creating a simple components folder and I'm creating a simple app component. Now, I'm importing a React again from React package, and I'm creating a component. Now, when we discuss about the component, we can create component in two ways, with the help of class or with the help of function. So we are having class-based component, we are having function-based component. So now, which is the best approach? These things may rise, but for now, I'm using the functional component. And when we discuss about the differences between class-based and function-based component, I will give a brief content, such as class-based components will have state, will have life cycle events, but coming to functional component doesn't have state. So to replicate those behaviors, to replicate the behavior of state inside functional component, React.js provide hooks. So we are having a useState hook, which can replicate the state behavior in functional component. Same way, to replicate few lifecycle events inside functional component, it provides some another hook, use effect. With the help of use effect, we can replicate few lifecycle events in functional component. So just I will just create a simple component, function component. Now this is my component, but if you see here, this import line is not highlighted, this dull, which represents we are not using this import. This React will be used whenever we are using JSX content in our component. Let me create a simple JSX content. I'm saying a div content with app component. Now we are having this, whenever I have written this app component, this JSX content, this becomes highlighted, means we are using this imported React content now. Now if I remove again, let me move again. Now if you see, it becomes means whenever we use JSX component, then this React content will be utilized. Now let me export this component from this file as a default component. Now I want to use this component. I want to render my let's say this is my main component, from which I want to use other components. These are my root component. And first of all, I want to render this component into div element. For that, let's import this component here and render that component into a root element. So now I have imported this app component, which is located in components folder in app.js file. Now, if I save this and let's run the application. So now my application started again. Now, making this as a root component, I want to discuss few scenarios by implementing basic structure here and how it runs in the large scale applications. So for that, I have taken a simple example with products content. Means I want to display some cards, few products in card structure. So for that, let me create a folder of product. In which I am holding product.js. In this product.js, I want to create my product component, which will be displayed as a card in my web page. So as you understand how we import the content, I'm using the shortcut simply instead of writing again and again. So here I'm simply creating a product component. Let's add some text here. Now I will call this product component in app.js file. Let me import product first. Now here I'm getting the product component. I'm displaying the product component which was called into app. Now I want to design some card, but instead of discussing CSS content in our React webinar, I just skip that part. I will just copy the CSS content and paste here instead of discussing the CSS. I want to discuss much more in React content. So let me create a product.css and let me copy the CSS content. Now I want to import this CSS into .js file. Now again, the question arises: is it the best way to use CSS in our application? Now it depends on the application. There are multiple ways of using CSS in our application. I'm using the simplest way for now. Even we can use we can use different approaches. We can use even SCSS files, SAS files, SCSS files in our application, and we can make our environment render those files into the CSS. Those things we can do. We will discuss in upcoming webinars how we can create. What are the different ways of creating CSS? How can we use them in React.js and React Native applications? So for now, I'm using a simple approach. And let me create a simple card. I want to create my card wrapper, then I want to create my card. Now to display a card, I need to have some information. Let's I have taken my information from a fake API. It is holding some around 20 products. So it is having a title, price, description, image, all these things. Based on this information, I want to display some image. For now, let me create an image first. Let me copy an image content. In the end, we will call this API and we will display instead of providing static data. But for now, I'm using this SRC. I'm using this image in SRC. Then I'm providing the alt content. Let's say this product is having backpack. I mean, it is holding the backpack content. So I will make alt text as backpack. Then I want to display the title information. We are having title information. So let me copy this title. I want to display price information. We are having price. Now I want to provide a simple button with add to cart. Let me make this as a price class. And so now we are having a card, but it's not looking good. So let me change few CSS lines. Yeah, now it is much better. Now here we are having a single product.js file. Now, if you think of in the long, I mean in large scale, in runtime we'll get multiple products. We have to display different products in our application. For example, if it is an e-commerce form. Now, if I write like this, for example, let me write like this. Now it is displaying two products, but I'm not reusing the content. Means here we are having the same content, which when compared to this one, only the values we need to change, but we are not reusing this. So the main concept of React.js is reusability. So we can reuse components in different at any part of, I mean, at any point of time without affecting other content. Means if you change something in one component, it doesn't affect remaining contents. So like in that way, we need to create components for reusability. So let me create this component for reusability. For that, instead of displaying multiple records here, let me create another component which will display all the products. Let me create a CSS for this file also. And I've already created CSS for this content. Let me use that. And I will import that CSS. So now let's call this product, each product in products component multiple times. Let me call product here. Now, if I go to the web page, it doesn't display this product content. It is displaying still old content because I'm not using this inside app.js. Let me use products instead of product here, and I know this import. I don't want to display. For example, if I save here, it will provide the warnings that we are not using the product. It is better to uh, make application without warnings and errors. Simply I'm removing unwanted code. So now it is displaying products content. Let me add one more to confirm this. Now we are having three products. So we are displaying product content here. Now, even this is not a usability. We are just calling the same component and same content again and again. We are not using actually. So I want to use how the component usability works. Uh, I want to give a sample example. So for that, let me get the data here. So now I will use this as a static. In the end, I will use this as an API. Let's say product one. I'm displaying product one, and let me display another product. Now I want to use these products, two products. I want to pass these two products into this product component, and I want to use these contents uh, by using the usability concept. So now, if you see here, we are having a title, uh, we are having price, we are having image here. So I want to use this content. So I can pass, for example, one way of writing is I want to pass, for example, ID. I have to write product one dot ID. If I want to pass an image, I have to write product one dot image. So instead of writing every time product one dot content, instead of writing like that, we can destructure the content into this product. As we are using this as an element, we can destructure the content as an argument. So whatever the properties of the objects we are having in this product one will be the arguments of this element, which are used in the component with the help of props. So I'm passing the data to this product, and I want to use that. So I'm passing product, but still I'm just passing the content, but I'm not using. So still it will display the same. So it will display the same images because I'm not using those content in my application. So sorry, in my components. So let me use this content in my component in product.js. Now we can get the data from the props. We can write here, this props is holding the image, price, title, all these things. We can write one way of writing is writing this image, writing this title. For example, I want to write the title. I would again write props or titles. I mean, we can write like this, but it is not the better approach. Instead of writing like this, we can simply destructure the code, this object. I want to destructure and I want to get the required content. It is having ID, title, price, description, image. Like this, there are multiple things there. But I'm interested only image, title, and price. So I want to get only those things: title, image, price. I'm destructuring the content from this props object, and then getting those properties. I'm using those I'm getting those properties into this current scope. So directly I can use those properties instead of writing props dot image, props dot title every time. So if you think of in a large scale, if you are having a component with thousands of lines, every time we need to, instead of writing object or property name, we can simply get those properties into the current scope. We can directly use them. Same way, let me write get the title, then price. So now, if you see, we are having two contents, but let me display them side by side. Yeah, now it is better to see. Yeah. So now, even in this case, we are not using the code effectively. Of course, we are using two products. We are displaying the content with two products. But if you go with real-time applications, we don't have two products, and we cannot write. If we are getting 100 products, in a runtime we cannot write 100 lines. So there should be a code which can access all the products in a runtime. It can scale up or down based on the product size. So for that, I'm using a simple code. I want to display all the products as an array. Now, this is an array of product list. So let me change the name also. It is best practice to have a naming convention which is matching with the content it is holding. So here it is holding the list of products. So I'm saying products list, and I'm mapping those product list. I'm using a map function. Map is an array function which will return all the elements by creating a new array. But I mean, for all the elements, it will return some data, whatever the data will provide. So in this case, for this function, we need to for this map method, we need to pass a function. This function will be executed by map for every element of an array. Now my each element is my product object. So I'm getting the product object, and I want to return product product component by using this map method. Now each product is holding my content, so I want to destructure all the properties of this object as an argument of this element. I mean, I'm using this component as an element, so I want to destructure all the arguments of this object as parameter of this element. So let me use like this. So now it is same. We are seeing the same output as before, but what is the difference is now if I scale up, means if I add one more, it will add one more. Means in the runtime it will work. Yeah, by seeing this, you can say, yeah, this is a simple code. Why we are discussing these things here? Yes, it is a simple code, but I need to create some content so that I can discuss uh, better approaches in the upcoming codes. I mean, in the upcoming lines. So for that, I'm starting from basic. So now, even in this case, I'm having the content in the front end. So I want to get the data from the API. So let me create an API. I mean, let me call the API. I'm not creating the API. We are having already an API content. Just I want to call this content. So for that, first of all, I want to use the use state hook to hold my variables. Because if I use normal variable, React doesn't understand if there is a change in that variable. For that, we need to use state hook if it is a functional component, our state content to store our data, and whenever the changes happen in the data, React renders the component again and get the changes into the DOM. So initially, I want to display products list. So initially, it is an empty array. Don't have any data here. Now this hook will return an array. We can write like this, some products like this, which will have two elements in the array, product of 0 and product of 1. But it is not best practice to again write products of 0, product of 1 everywhere. Instead of using that, I will destructure the array, and I will provide first element, which is holding my products list. Second element will be the function by which I can change the value of this products list. Now I'm using the same products list. I'm using same products list, but we don't have values here. So now it is an empty content. We don't have any data. To get the data, I want to call API. There are multiple ways of calling API. We have multiple packages in the market. Or even we can use the default JavaScript front that is fetch. We can use fetch also. But there are multiple reasons I'm using Axios for. I mean, there are multiple benefits of these Axios. I'm using these Axios in my application for now. For that, I need to. It is a third-party package, so we need to install this into our application. So let me install this. Now, once it is installed, I want to call the API. So that let me create. I'm getting the products. So naming convention. I'm following naming conventions. So get products. Now let me call Axios. I'm importing the Axios. I'm simply using the get and I'm passing the URL. Let me pass this URL here. Now, if you see this, here I'm directly passing a URL. Now, is it the best approach in the long run, in the large scale application, in the real time application? If, for example, think of a thing like that, we are having thousands of APIs. Every time if I write URL, if it is a product, I need to write, sorry, if it is a post, I need to write, even if for get our post, I need to write headers, options, all these things. If it is a post, I need to pass the data. So instead of writing like this every time, think like this. We are having the content, we are having config content, we are having the if it is a post, we are having data also. So instead of writing all these things every time, it is better to use a reusable. It is better to create a API content which can be used, which can handle all these default operations, and even the URLs. It will vary as we develop our application. We'll have, I mean, multiple companies will have their environment, staging environment, multiple other environments, and at the end for the end user, we'll have production environment. So for each environment, URL will vary. So instead of writing the URLs directly, it's better to go with the environment variables, and we are having some multiple options. We can use those one of the options, and we can use the content instead of writing like this. So it is not the best approach, but for now, for my simplicity, for this simplicity of this webinar, I'm just creating this. Let me call this content. Now Axios will return a promise, so we can get the response. If it is a resolved content, we can have the response in. I mean, the response can be through then block. If we are having a rejected content, we can go with the catch. Means whenever we are having a success response, this then block will execute this function by providing the response. If you are having a failed response, means it may be 500 or 400 series. So in that case, catch block will execute the function we are passing here with the error response. So this is one way of writing then and catch. I mean, one way of writing this API with the help of then and catch. There are multiple, I mean, we are having other options also. So for example, if I write like this, if I'm having another line, let's say this is line 10. Now this Axios will give the request. This line will not wait for this response. It will execute first. Then whenever the response, whenever this API returns the response, then it will execute. So instead of writing like this, I want to use async and await and make it synchronous. Now, whatever the lines I will write after this Axios content, they will wait until we get the response. So let me get the response. Now, I want to see what is there inside this response. Instead of just data, the response will hold multiple things. First of all, let me start my application. Yeah, so let me call the function first with the help of use effect. Now coming to use effect hook, it replicates few lifecycle events of class-based components in functional-based components. Now use effect, by passing the parameters, the way we pass the parameter, it will replicate the content immediately. It will replicate the lifecycle events. For example, it is having two parameters. First one is a function, a simple function. Now, if I write like this use effect will execute this function every time we are having a render, we are having a change in state or props or anything else, and every time the render happens, it will execute this function. If you pass a second parameter, that is an optional one, and if you pass an empty array, it will execute the function only on the first render. So let me call the function get products function, which is getting the data from API here. It will render only once at the first time of render because I have passed an empty array. So now, yeah, it is pending. I guess we have a server down situation here. In that case, let me directly use this. Yeah, I guess we have a server down situation here. Let me use directly here. So now we are having data. As we are having server down issue here, some network issue here. So let me use as a let me think of this as an API and get the data here. So now I want to set this to set products list. Now we are displaying to see here. Let me refresh. And we need to clear this one. Whenever we are looping a component, React.js doesn't understand means which component. I mean, it cannot differentiate component to component inside a loop. So for that, we need to use an unique key. We need to pass an unique content here. So we are having a product with ID which is having unique content. So let me refresh again. Now we have removed the error. Now, if you see, we are having the end content. I mean, we are using the same component for all the products in the runtime. And based on the API, let's think we are using an API. So here, based on the API content, we are displaying multiple cards. Now make it. Now I want to make it much better. For that, we can, for example, I want to display another functionality. I want to discuss another functionality, such as filtering this input. Now, for that, I'm using, for example, we are having multiple cards. I want to display, I want to filter based on the title. So for that, I'm again using use state. We can use any number of use states, and I will use the title here. Then let me use this title and display the content for that. I'm creating a simple input. Now, based on using this example, I want to see how the validations, how we can create validations for large scale applications. I'm just creating a simple validation, but how it works in a large scale application, I want to discuss that part also. So for that, let me create the value, and input will have a send the data to this input. We'll have the value property. Then if you want to change something, we'll have a change method, change event. For this, we need to pass the event handler. First of all, let me pass title. Then let me create a event handler. It is simply a function. Let me create a function with some name. Yeah, changes the title. So I will say title change handler. Now I'm passing this function to this event. Now this, whenever an event occurs, means whenever a user change some data inside this input field, this method will get executed, and it will this event will pass the event content to this function as a parameter. So now we'll get the event, which will have the element, target element. This is our element. So in this event, as a property target, we will get the entire data of this target element input field. I want to access the data of this target element, the input field. We can access values, multiple events, multiple IDs, classes, all these things. But for now, I'm interested in value of this input field. So let me call this event.target. We are having value. We can write event.target.value like this, and we can get the content value like this. But it is not a better approach. Let me go with restructuring and get the value, required value from the target object. Now, if I see the content value, I'm not passing the, I'm not assigning the value. I'm not changing the title here. So let's see what happens here. Now we are having, I'm providing some content. But if you see, what are the text I'm providing, we are getting in the console, but it is not assigning here. Means we are not changing the property which was provided with this use state. That is why as we didn't change the value, it doesn't affect this input value. So for that, let me change my value, set title. So now if I sorry, need to assign the value. Yeah. Now if I add the value, now we are having the content inside this input. I want to use this. I want to filter the cards with the help of title. For that, I'm using a simple content. We are having all the product items inside the product list. Let's say we are getting the data from API and we are assigning it to products list. So I want to filter few contents. Now filter is a method which will return the content if the function is passing a true value. For example, we need to pass the function to this. Now, if I'm returning to value, now simply we can write like this. If I'm returning a true value, it will it will create a new array whenever the item is whenever the condition is true. In that case, it will assign those elements to the array. If it is false, it won't assign those elements. So let me create a condition. Uh, Now this filter will get each element. Each element is my product. Let me get the product. Product dot. Uh, we are having a title. I want to filter the title item. So we are having title in this product. Now we can check whether this title, I mean the value we are passing the input field is included in this title or not. So let me go with case insensitive. Let me convert this to lowercase. Now this will check whether the value we have provided in this input field is matching with some content of the title. Now whatever the content we are getting here, I want to assign this to another list. For example, let me say final product list. Now I want to assign this content to final product list, my filtered products to this final product list. I want to display this. Now, if I am having a value, I want to display this final product list. If don't have any value, for example, think of things like this. For example, if it is empty, I don't want to display filtered content. If you are having some value, then I want to display the filtered content. So for that, let me provide a simple condition. Now, if you are having value content, then I want to display final product list. If I don't have the value, I will simply display product list. And whatever the array we are having, that array we are mapping, and we are using the same component, and we are displaying multiple products. Oh, sorry, this is my title here. So let me refresh. Yeah, we don't have any errors. So let me search for example, I'm just searching for months. We are having multiple month items based on title. We are filtering. Here, let me go for cotton. So we are having cotton titles. So like this, I'm just filtering. But using this simple scenario, I want to discuss large scale conditions. I'm simply providing some content. I'm simply providing some filter content. Even I can provide some validation. But can I use like this? Is this the best approach to use this any validation content in each component? Let's think we are having a large scale application with multiple forms. For example, for each page we are having 5 to 50 forms. For example, I have phone numbers in multiple form content. So is it better to use same condition in every component? Is it better way to write? Instead of writing like this, we can create a common validation content. There are multiple ways. It depends on the application and depends on the idea of the developer. So I will give some few best approaches I have seen and I have used in my multiple applications. So here, for example, we are having the validation content. I want to create a common validation content in a file, and I want to use it for all the forms. That is one way. We can use the same validation into our state management, and we can use throughout the application. That is another way. We can in few applications. If it is a large scale application, instead of writing forms everywhere, instead of validating everywhere, we can create into Redux all the forms, and we can directly use based on the pages. That is also one way. But you can say, if I use the content in all forms in Redux, then it will be a burden. I'm using the same. If I'm going for some page, it will Redux will hold remaining form contents also. It will increase the size. Yeah, it will increase the size. There are multiple ways to reduce them. So we can go for some good approaches. We can go for some good approaches and remove the contents with the help of Redux. So we'll discuss those things also, different ways of validation content in our future webinar. So for now, so that's all I want to discuss how we can imagine this large scale application with a simple webinar here. So that's what I want to discuss. So in our upcoming webinars, I mean, here we have provided a simple approach, simple content. We have mostly discussed how a simple application will work. But in our upcoming webinars, I want to discuss few topics: how to create reusable UI components and maintain them. What are the best practices for these React.js applications, such as creating common API content, creating multiple authentication techniques. I mean, what are the different authentication techniques, and what are the best approaches we can use in our applications, uh, and how to maintain a quality code among the team. Means if we are a single person in the application, we can create our own content. If you are a well-known knowledgeable person, we can create good quality code. But if you go with the team, we cannot assume that every person can write the same will write the quality code. So for that, we need to use some tools to check whether we are maintaining the code quality for our final branch. So for that, we need to go with some ES-linked best practices, such as ES-linked, a combination of them. Sonar, like these companies use better approaches to maintain the quality of the code. So what are the best approaches to maintain the quality of code? We will discuss in our upcoming webinars, and why we need to write unit test cases, and what is the positives of these of writing these unit test cases. Are as I mentioned, how to write huge form-based applications, validations for huge form-based application, how to handle a huge form-based application by maintaining the reusable codes. Then different, as I mentioned, different security content also for different authentication. What are the different ways of authenticating applications, and what are the better approaches? Then steps to follow migrating large scale applications into React.js. We can migrate, we can directly create React.js, but if you follow few steps, if you aware of few issues, and to reduce the, I mean, uh, to remove those issues, if you follow few steps, that will be better to that will be a better approach to maintain or migrate to large scale applications into React.js. So we will discuss those topics. Then uh, understanding this webpack and babel means, as I mentioned, we can create application in multiple ways. One of the ways to create everything from scratch, create a folder, and install all the dependencies such as webpack, babel, react script, react them, all these things manually, and create our own application. That is also possible. So which is the best approach to create React application? Can we create everything from scratch and use it in the real-time application? So how it is possible? Those things we will discuss in our upcoming application. So, sorry, in our upcoming webinars. So that's all for today's session. I hope I have provided some maybe some good content for you. And I would like to thank my company, and special note of thanks to my colleagues. Better to say my friends, Ratnakar, Sharath, and Siam. So they are leads in their own sectors. They have helped for this webinar. Then I would like to thank you all the participants who became the part of this webinar, and I wish you all a good luck for your future goals. Thank you. Let's go with some discussion in whatever. If you are having any questions, please post in the chat box. Thank you. Yeah, I have got few questions in the chat box. How can we get this recording from VK? Yeah, VK, we will provide this webinar into our YouTube channel. We are having a YouTube channel in the name Pronix INC. We will provide this a webinar there. You can access that. Now, I have another question from Shamul. Uh, I want to. The question is, I want to ask how to use a ReactJS platform can improve function of state and municipality services and social problems. Yeah, that was a good question, Samuel. So for these, based on these type of similar questions, we will try to create a new webinar in our upcoming sessions, and I will try to solve. I mean, I will try to provide a good solution for this one. Thank you. Joan Kavya, thank you for your input. Any other questions? I guess we are good to conclude. Thank you very much. Thank you everyone for participating into this webinar. Thank you.